Dead Space is a game that takes the brilliant concept of the trek of stars and turns it upside down and whips itself repeatedly. I'm not sure why we needed a massive spaceship, a planet, and some aliens to all be present at once to make me think that this is either Star Wars or Star Trek, except it went horrifically wrong with some methanol and bleach thrown in, but hey, I ain't gonna judge. In this game, we play as one of gaming's greatest protagonists, I think, named Isaac Clarke, on his quest to do some kind of quest from his favorite MMO, World of Employee Harassment. A quest of which that involves going to the USG Ishimura, located above the planet of Aegis 7. The intent of his quest is clearly to do a bit of aggressive trolling. Unfortunately, some of the pretty boys known as the Necromorphs, otherwise known as every MMO player ever, have decided that hey, this is our ship now, and have killed everybody on board. During Mr. Clarke's journey, we'll see him murder many old men with a plethora of weapons such as my AK-47, a nail gun, a friggin' spring, and of course, my fire mixtape. He will also meet many people that will want to potentially kill him, such as Dr. Matt Mercer, his own wife, and large fat men. He will also see some truly stunning visuals, thanks to the new and improved supercomputer that Isaac Clarke now uses, allowing his brain to finally ascend into the realm known only as Horny Jail. This has been a game that has been in my rearview mirror since I was like 12. It's a game that I've wanted to play in its original form for years, and with its remake releasing at the beginning of this year, and now having a PC capable of running it at its highest settings, it finally felt appropriate to play this title properly. So grab your bag of credits, maybe grab some of the drink, you're gonna need it, and probably some lotion for your back, because I'm about to take you through one hell of a space-bearing adventure. Let's just hope that I don't get ripped to shreds by the Necromorphs. After all, I'd rather be destroyed by a woman in bed. Sorry Necromorphs, you're not getting this Sigma mail tonight. This is Dead Space. Oh shit! Unlike most games in the horror segment, which is very little, Dead Space has its main point in its title. It's in space, and the undead are there, so... shocking, I know. But seriously, as I said before, Dead Space involves our trio of Isaac Clarke, Kendra Daniels, and Zach Hammond alongside their pilots as they make their journey to the USG Ishimura, a ship that has been orbiting Aegis 7 for an unknown amount of years. I don't think we were told. A mining facility was set up here alongside the ship, as Aegis 7 holds one of the biggest finds in CEC history. Sadly, the ship's communications have suddenly stopped working, and thus the CEC sent our ragtag crew out to fix the problem. Of course, we all know what's gonna happen when we get there. The Necromorphs are gonna come out and play with our spines. There's this super cool thing called the Marker, which began its life, you know, like inside Aegis 7, but not really. And it's believed that this is what spawned the Necromorphs in the first place. It's kinda strange that a red pillar creates space zombies, but hey, Call of Duty zombies taught us that zombies can literally just appear out of thin air. So, regardless, I don't want to spoil the plot for you just yet, as unlike my last video with Castle Crashers, I'm going to go for my classic chronological storytelling for this video. However, I do want to go over the gameplay of Dead Space before we go any further, as, I may as well get it out of the way before I have an aneurysm about the amount of pokes I'm about to receive via this really cool thing called space needle torture. Dead Space has a rather simple gameplay loop, one that is simple to follow and understand. And that's honestly a good thing, given that both 1, the USG Ishimura is kinda hard to navigate, in the sense that it's just the Maze Runner series but it's smoked a fat joint, and second, I don't want to think about how I'm going to be upgrading the foam finger hand cannon whilst fighting a boss. There's a total of 7 weapons to choose from, and you'll find them through various means as you explore the Ishimura. Whether this be the plasma cutter, capable of absolutely destroying every Mark Rober video in sight, or the Ripper, which I legit never used, so that you can rip it with the ladies. Makes sense why I don't use it. How about the line gun, which is basically just a buffed version of the plasma cutter, yet its ammo is harder to come by. Just like my taste in women. But that doesn't mean that it's effective against the Necromorphs. My personal favorite, however, is the Force Gun, which does both a literal cannon blast of air at your target, and if you use its signature ability, it will make a black hole and deliver the big fuck to all enemies around it. I think you can see why I like it. There's also something called the Contact Beam, and while I didn't get this in my playthrough, it involved contact. And yeah, I'm not quite there yet, Chief. Unfortunately, I did learn 2 things whilst I looked it up for this video. 1, the Contact Beam is one of the most devastating weapons in the game, and 2, this same rule applies to the plasma cutter once you upgrade it. So take a guess as to what 2 weapons I barely used once I got deep into the game. There's also this foam finger hand cannon, which you get by completing Impossible Mode. But yeah, I don't really want to do that. I'd like to think that if you use this weapon, you would just shoot a shiz ton of foam at a Necromorph, only for said Necromorph to then laugh at you and kill you in a matter of seconds, like it's the Hunter from Left 4 Dead. All of your weapons can be upgraded using schematics found around the Ishimura, as well as through nodes. These nodes can be spent at a bench to give your weapons more damage, reload speed, capacity, etc. You can also upgrade your suit here as well, whether this be for a longer stasis or kinesis timer, more HP, more oxygen, whatever fits your fancy. You're gonna have to find those nodes though, which is where the exploration of this game comes into play. And for being a game that is rather linear, Dead Space has its fair share of telling the player, go explore, you'll find some candy if you do. Whether this be credits to buy ammo, upgrades, health packs, and even nodes from the shop, or energy recharges, health packs, nodes, ammo, and credits that can be lying around the Ishimura. Additionally, some doors are locked behind security levels, which will require you to advance in the story and then return to these doors later to open them. It's a neat detail for exploration enthusiasts like myself, and I'm happy to see it here. You also have some gameplay built into Isaac's suit in the form of stasis and kinesis, which are basically just ripped versions of stasis and magnesis from Breath of the Wild, and the devs thought we wouldn't notice. Well, we did. Stasis can slow down objects for a short period of time, allowing you to, say, I don't know, go through some dangerous fan blades without getting split in two. It also allows you to slow down the necromorphs, allowing you to show them who's their daddy right in their field of view. Kinesis is much like magnesis, in the sense that you can lift objects and move them around. These objects are perfectly labeled, so you're gonna know pretty quick as to what you can use them on. Overall, Dead Space's gameplay loop is straight to the point. It's simple, but it has its own depth, with the ability to make some great builds with your weapons and suits, and it helps encourage exploration. But with this being said, I think it's time we hop on board on the USG Kellion en route to the Ishimura and kick off our adventure. Buckle up, because this is going to be a wild ride. Isaac clearly is staring at his wife, whom, by the way, we haven't met and don't know if she's even alive or not. More on that later. Why does the Ishimura look like a freaking Galra ship from Voltron? I'm not the only one that notices this, right? Naturally, the book of things that must occur in video games strikes again, and we crash land into the landing bay of the Ishimura. I mean, we couldn't just land the ship like normal because that would be cringe, so we gotta make a big entrance. We attempt to look for literally anybody, and then moments later, the necromorphs show up and backstab Chen. Way to go, necromorphs. Who's gonna give me lore on the Ishimura now? And no, I'm not calling MatPat. After proceeding to not be able to run away from the dang necromorphs and hearing someone moaning, we acquire the plasma cutter. Moments later, Barry B. Benson himself proves that the classic trope of aim for the head doesn't work. And boy is he right. Helpful tip, aim for the legs and the arms. It's quite literally no head. The boys ask us to help fix the tram system so that we can experience the wonders of the Tokyo subway system, but in space. Seems like I can't escape it, huh? After learning about dismemberment and doing said actions on the populace of the Ishimura whilst having a brawl in the corner and losing half my health, I finally realized that shooting at their legs and arms is the best move. It only took a half hour to realize it. I found a lost child in the tram and then learned to use stasis. Man, I sure feel like this is Tears of the Kingdom. I sure hope that Link isn't gonna show up, freeze me in place, and then pump my bum into the depths. By the way, you gotta recharge stasis occasionally. I hate that you can't use this repetitively. What if I want to use stasis on a girl so I can do some shiz? Actually, I'm gonna stop talking now. After replacing the tram through any needs necessary, it's time to return to the Kellion to leave. Man, the game's over already? I was told that this was 12 hours of needle torture, not 45 minutes of it. TLDR, about 3 minutes later, the singularity core of the Kellion goes dark thanks to the necromorphs. The captains get got, and the Kellion explodes in true Michael Bay fashion. Thanks, necromorphs. I'm sure that I didn't want to fly out of here and go to Walmart and get some Raid and spray your bums. No, I didn't want to at all. Next task, find Captain Matthias and retrieve his codes so we can get a new way back home. I'm sure this is going to go very well, and will result in a number of problems that will, of course, have to be solved by us, the player, and not the developers. We make haste to the medical bay, and in doing so, we learn kinesis, giving us the ability to move boxes around. Truly a revolutionary step forward in gaming. Good job, devs. I'm sure this isn't going to be used much in the game at all and have zero significant impact on the gameplay. Shocker, the morgue is blocked off, so now we gotta blow it up to get inside. I suddenly feel like I've just become Mr. Beast. In this video, I'm gonna blow up a morgue and whoever survives gets $10,000. I got a side mission here, and whilst there's like 6 of them in the entire game, I either didn't do all of them or did like 2 of them. But don't worry, if you start chapter 12, you cannot do these side quests and they will automatically get cancelled. And guess who forgot to make a backup save beforehand? I also witnessed the typical, this guy knows that the plan's wrong, and this guy knows that the plan isn't wrong, but he's still gonna do it anyway cliche. I also saw a guy do the same thing I would when I hear my friend Rocco talking about how he wants to bust. Me too, buddy. Me too. We're still looking for the captain's codes, by the way. I'm just making sure you're aware. I went into literal space for a bit. It was very cold, and now I require the warm embrace of my body pillows to save me. Don't question where I got them, by the way. Hammond trapped Chen's now Hammond trapped Chen's now necromorphed body into an escape pod so that he can stare at him for no apparent reason. Remember this for later. I also definitely did not change the difficulty to easy after dying to way too many mobs. Look, I suck at shooting games, alright? But if you want a video, just let it pass, okay? The game definitely didn't crash, I swear, and afterwards we see another man die in front of my own eyes. I'm starting to see a trend here. Finally found the explosive we came for, so let's go gas up this morgue. We also see Isaac's wife doing some, let's call it experiments, to this random white guy. Hey, look, it's me. I also saw this chick legit split this guy's chest open, like, a lot, and then saw the same chick split her own throat after the ordeal was over. I'm sorry, but what? Finally got to the captain. Let me just take these codes real quick. So, holy crap, it's a kite! After clearing the place of space zombies, we now have to get to engineering. This is because the USG Ishimura is on a crash course with Aegis 7. Said, man, the events of this game have escalated quickly. We went from, yeah, killing zombies with guns is fun, and then escalated to, my brother in Christ, the ship is going down and you're going to die. I got to see Chen die again, this time in hologram form. They really don't want to let him go, do they? Time to fix the engines, because, of course, I got the Ripper as well. Too bad that I will not be using it at all during my playthrough. Except the time when I will ask you that you should subscribe, because only a small percentage of people are subscribed.
Christ, Henderson, your teeth! He's pulling his teeth out! Just hold him! Where the fuck is security? Oh God! He's dead! No, he's alive, but he hit that stick pretty hard. His own teeth. Jeez, what the hell is happening? I don't know. Cancel security request. Henderson needs the medical bay. And a shrink.
I also listened to The Average Day at my local dentist. Kind of strange, but okay then. After what felt like several hours, I later realized that yes, enemies can hit you while you are trying to peruse your local grocery store. That's both kind of funny and kind of messed up. Welcome to the centrifuge, otherwise known as the nipples of the Ishimura. After solving the problems with the nips not doing what they're intended to do and getting railed by the wailing metal arm, we proceed to get thrown around by the tentacle henty monster. I didn't think he'd make an appearance in this game, but hey, I was wrong. Also got the flamethrower about 10 minutes later. I finally get to drop my fire mixtape on the populace of the Ishimura. Let's go! After blowing up some alien jazz, we eventually restarted the engines. Hammond tells us to come to the bridge so we can have an adult chat. Not strange at all, considering that Hammond is alone, with presumably Chen in a pod. Let's just skip to the next part, because I'm getting the feeling that this is going to get really weird really quick. Immediately, Daniels and Hammond get into a brother versus sister conflict about the marker, and how the CEC knew about it from the start. I really don't give a single care in the world, so let's just skip past this segment and tell Mom that the kids are fighting again. Oh boy! Chen is, he's doing real good. Yeah, he seems like he's having fun in there. He's jamming out to my favorite song, The Mask by Dream. Also, Hammond launched him into space via an escape pod. Remember this for later. We return to the bridge to find... What in the John DeLorean is that? Meet what I'm gonna call Dwayne the Rock Necromorph. He's big, he doesn't like bullets, and he loves to run and scream at you like he's a Markiplier fangirl. And while I didn't know this in the moment, you actually want to hit his weak spot on his back and nowhere else. Does the game tell you this? No. No, it doesn't. Should the game have given a hint to this? Probably. But this is space we're dealing with, and no one can hear you in space, so why should they have said anything to begin with? I also saw a clip of a doctor killing the captain, so, potential murder case just dropped. It's now time to reroute power to different sections of the ship to the ADS cannons, so that we can play Space Invaders and shoot down some asteroids in space. Pretty cool idea, apart from the shooting the asteroids part. I just don't think it's a good idea. I'd rather not be pelted by 27 smaller asteroids and just take one big one instead. Just saying. So here's a brief montage of me rerouting all that power, because, well, it took like 30 minutes, and I also died like 15 times during this part.
On fire! Fire! I'm on fire! Oh shit!
Hi, how are you?
Great news! The book of things that must occur in video games strikes again, and now we're gonna manually aim these cannons. I feel like I'm just asking to get punted into outer space. After doing a little bit of trolling, we return inside to learn that we're going back to medical to see our wife, because we gotta get some of that holographic bum. Why did I say that? I had a bit of a jump scare on the tram leading to medical, but hey, let's not focus on that due to the fact that it sucked. Suddenly, a doctor locks us in medical, and getting right to the point, let's just say he's a bit of a cuck. More killing of alien jazz and tentacles would occur over the next 20 minutes before eventually getting to a cutscene that broke the game. So I legit had to reload my save, run back to this part again, and see this cutscene for a second time. Regardless, we then meet Dr. Mercer in this cutscene, a scientist who is basically a simp to the marker, and wants everyone to submit to it like it's the equivalent of a big titty anime girl. He says we're the problem to his plan, he's gonna kill us brutally, you know, just some basic stuff that we probably don't need to worry about.
Are you sure about that?
Meet the Hunter. No, not that one. A mob that can't actually be killed. Technically. Main goal, rip its legs and arms off so you can run away. We won't talk about how you kill it because that's for another episode of Game Theory, and I ain't dealing with that right now. With a lockdown in place for Isaac's bad behavior in class today, it's up to us to get him out of detention. I acquire the line gun moments later, allowing me to draw a line to the finish line, and to line up for when I slide into your DMs. Not literally, but hey, Isaac wouldn't mind. This guy tells us that we gotta save hydroponics, so now, naturally, we gotta solve it, because if we don't, he's gonna rise from the grave and come kill me in my sleep. Hey look, this green stuff is what I'd like to think the average male's body odor looks and smells like. Comment if you agree, ladies. Oh boy, the Hunter is back. This time though, we actually have to kill it by trapping him inside this cryo chamber in the center of the room. It took me like 10 minutes to figure this out, okay? Shut the hell up. We make haste for Tokyo's tram station again, this time with the intent to go to hydroponics, for real this time, and stop that armpit smell from destroying my lungs. Elizabeth Cross lets us know the hydroponics has gone dark and tells us to turn back. Remember this lady for later. Our final mission here in hydroponics is to get access to the food storage, but unfortunately, we can't get there right now as the Leviathan is currently recording Nikado Avocado's newest video behind the door. So Elizabeth Cross tells us that in order to get into food storage, we're gonna have to stab her many friends that are somewhat related to this thing. They're blood related, I knew it. With the objective being to, and I quote, inject the Weezers, it's time for yet another montage, except this time, we're gonna destroy Weezer.
Oh, God, fire! Fire! Oh, shit!
Check this fucking shit out! Surprise, motherfucker! What the fuck? What's up, bitch? Oh my fucking god! Die, bitch!
Just under an hour later, it's time to head into food storage. I am super curious as to what Nikado is cooking up this time. Maybe he's finally gonna quit YouTube and go on to his next role of American Pickers. Oh, that's a little sus. Okay, let me just fly around in here real quick. Okay, that's not what I was expecting.
Come here! Prepare your aim.
Welcome to what I'm just gonna call the first majorly significant boss of the game. This is only because this is the only other enemy besides the Hunter from earlier that actually gets listed in the quest text. This boss is fairly straightforward. However, I hope you're ready to have some motion sickness. If you're not a fan of that, you may just want to succumb to the Henty monster now while you still can. Hey, remember that alien jazz that we had to deal with earlier? Well, this boss is literally just that, except A, it's bigger, so get some bigger pants maybe, and B, there's like at least 3 of them rather than 1. Shoot at the big orange spots long enough, and this fight is a piece of cake. You also have bits of ammo and health packs floating around the arena to help you out. And speaking of that arena, you can't actually use all of it.
You serious?
There's a certain point when you get close enough to the boss that he roars and throws you back. You don't get to know that right away, you sort of just have to figure that out. And honestly, this game is using a lot of that. forcing you to find things out yourself without actually telling you. In a way, it kind of feels like I'm playing a Nintendo product, or just reading the entire Unity scandal. Overall, this boss is decent, so let's just get his questionable face that's giving me strange feelings out of the way, and send him back to the Shadowlands where he belongs. Now that the local Henty board meeting has concluded, it's time to head to the mining deck. We then hear that all of the unitologists on board are on the crew deck and are stabbing each other for fun. Whilst yes, this does sound fun, I'm concerned about what may happen if I show up. I'd probably get bodied so hard that I'd turn into dust. I then had a bit of an elevator fight, because, well, I mean, you had to expect this given what game this is, and then I then became a surgeon and an eviscerator for about 10 seconds flat, and then we're now back in the mine swinging our pickaxe from side to side. After witnessing the typical anime fan wanting to get stepped on, sounds kind of like me, not gonna lie, we gotta get a rig in order to use the launch tubes. Okay, simple enough, just gotta go through the Ishimura's maze runner levels of doors and battle against needle torture. Should be easy enough. It's in these enclosed spaces that Isaac realizes that his new computer can run anything at max settings, and it's showing that power here. Am I gonna make this joke become relevant for a while in my videos? Yes. Should you care? Probably not. This guy is vibing by doing his own version of the sexy pose. I acquired the city of Dallas, Texas and its rig and returned to the mining deck, but not before getting a Discord DM that Hammond was showing a video of the marker for us to see. Kinda cool, apart from me getting a headache that's giving me nightmares now. There's also a dumb auto-scroller section here, and I'm now docking points off the game for this. Just let me have zero gravity, get sick whilst being in it, and let me kill some people. What's the harm in that? Suddenly, we get to see Isaac's wife caught in 1080p at 120 FPS. Not 4K, because that ain't worth it. We also had to make sure that she didn't get eaten by a necromorph, and I'm not entirely sure what would have happened if I just let that necromorph kill her, but I'd imagine that it's pretty messed up, but hey, if anybody wants to let me know what happens, just DM Isaac. Guess what, guys? The launch tubes are scrapped, so we're gonna have to get onto this asteroid ourselves and manually launch it. You know, I'm starting to like Isaac, only because he thinks of the plans that involve getting himself killed first. Time to fix the tethers holding down this asteroid. I'm sure this isn't going to take long whatsoever. Dang, this asteroid now has a chode sticking out of it. That's a bit awkward. With the tethers now fixed, we can finally launch this asteroid at Isaac's ex-girlfriend, that being space itself. And as expected, the hunter is back once again, as every time we want to leave a major milestone in the rearview mirror, he just shows up to deliver some instant justice. Unfortunately, as there's always going to be one of these nowadays, we gotta fix the communications array so that we can actually, you know, talk to other people other than one woman, a black guy, and Isaac's wife for 12 hours. We also just found out that the USM Valor has just showed up and popped into our SOS signal. Maybe we might actually be saved after all. But knowing that Valor is in the name, it probably means they're about to smite our bums into Aegis 7 themselves. Slowly but surely, we make our way down to the comm center, and after robbing this guy of his rig and completing a side quest, we listen to Matthias talk about the marker. Not gonna lie, this thing seems like it's a big deal. Just saying. We arrive at a rather large room and have to connect some power nodes together to power the place up. This took way too long, and I definitely didn't look up an IGN guide for it, I swear. You try solving this, I'm sure it'll take you just as long.
How about no?
Anyways, with the comms array fixed, we get a transmission from the USM Valor. And, hey, you remember that escape pod with Chen in it? We'll take a guess as to who just received that pod. So with the entire population of the USM Valor probably dead, we're gonna at least make an attempt to let them know that, hey, you're kinda dead, just so you know. Oh, and by the way, the Leviathan is back, so we gotta fist him again. This time on the Henty Strikes Back 2 Electric Boogaloo, we gotta shoot him with the ADS cannons. Watch out for his arms that lash at you, and watch the spiked balls, Isaac. I then witnessed the Ishimura getting probed by a crashing ship. Kinda rude, you didn't even give consent. So we're just gonna blame Hammond for the fact that this rescue ship is now destroyed and all of its crew are dead, right? Because that seems like the reasonable option. We make haste to enter the USM Valor. Hopefully this doesn't go bad. I better gain some valor out of this for, you know, not being the one that caused the problem. Guys, this is gonna be a shocker, but allegedly, the Valor is carrying a freaking nuclear weapon in its basement. This was clearly because they wanted to do some business with the Ishimura. Meet Stasis Necromorphs. Apparently, they're super quick and zip around like they're running on Australian internet and being high on the same steroids that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson takes. They're easy to deal with, provided you can also adjust your internet and speed to match them. We then meet Dr. Terrence Kane. He's the guy that wants to stop all of this, and he's that guy from earlier that knew something was wrong. We'll hear from him a bit later. Regardless, it's time to get this warhead away from the Ishimura so that I don't have to make any kind of penetration jokes. Hammond quickly downloads a report to figure out, you know, why they even had this in the first place, and while that's happening, it's our job to get the Singularity Core from the USM Valor and bring it back to the Ishimura with us. I watched this guy die with his leg chopped off. I kinda thought at first that he was singing to his kid or something, but hey, this is one of the more unique ways to go out, I guess. After getting past the YouTube paywall, we once again fight Dwayne the Necromorph, except this time he's green and I figured out how to actually kill him. Hammond tells us that yes, the USM Valor came to the Ishimura to help, and was probably aware of what had happened, and were most likely planning on nuking the ship to prevent the spread of Choden ball torture. But that's not important. After all, that happens every night in bed. For some people, so I don't think I gotta worry about it. I then found myself inside what I'm going to guess is several Chevy Fields slammed together, and then find Hammond. And as a way of making sure that he doesn't get Isaac killed, he, with needles in his back, kills himself and Chen's corpse. I mean, that's just a little messed up, because there's a lot of blood, but hey, at least we got the Singularity Core, right? With haste, we must leave the ship, as the Valor is about to literally bust. Thankfully, we escape, and have a pretty intense space-floating adventure and return to the Ishimura. It's now time to head to that shuttle that Hammond had mentioned before. You know, the one with all the unitologists near it and the marker. Yeah, this can only end badly. After bashing some heads in, just a lot of heads, dear god, why is there so much blood? Send help. We now have to get more codes to access the crew deck, and then walk into a ritual site. Kinda sus. The Showers decided that today was not their day either. Great jump scare game, but you're gonna have to try a lot harder than that. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to play the greatest game in human history. Z-Ball.
That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about.
I genuinely was surprised when I saw this, because, like, why would this be in a ship like this, given the situation at hand? Do really well, and you can get some really cool rewards here as well. I spent way too much time here, so let's just skip ahead. After finding the crew key, we arrive to see Dr. Mercer gassing Jacob Temple up, and naturally, we have a bit of a confrontation. We ask Mercer to explain what convergence actually is, because, yeah, he never did explain it, by the way. It's got something to do with the marker, and last I checked, Sharpies and Expo markers can't solve my problem, so, you're gonna have to try a lot harder than that, Mercer. We then see Temple die in slow motion, which is a bit messed up, and then see Mercer just YOLO out. This guy doesn't really seem like he wants to fight me, does he? I guess that quite literally does mean that he'd still be alive if you gamers didn't gas him up. Suddenly, a corpse starts talking to us, so, I need to go commit seppuku real quick. Just be right back. After doing so, we see another hologram of Mercer doing his usual join my side or die cliche, and somehow get a patient report about us from the man himself. It's a little strange. I'm starting to wonder if Mercer touched me last night and I didn't know it. The green armpit gas is back, so excuse me real quick while I go throw up. We're basically destroying a bunch of tentacles in various parts of the crew quarters here, so I guess this is where I kick into a montage, right?
What the hell is that? Check this shit out.
Oh, what the fuck? Eventually, we actually meet Dr. Kane, and he and Isaac help develop a plan to stop this madness. He also gives us a very useful and actually good plot narrative of why all of this started in the first place. Good job, Kine. You're actually doing the one thing that I've been wanting for the last 8 hours of gameplay, knowing how the hell this all started. So our plan is set in motion, to get the marker onto a shuttle and return it to the surface of Aegis 7 to stop this outbreak. With this, we make haste into the next room to absolutely destroy several broke-down necromorphs, and to begin the process of moving the marker to a shuttle. After putting a triangle into a ship, we run our test fire to make sure that everything is working. I just hope that I can use this test fire to my advantage and maybe kill some things with it. Oh wait, I can. Tentacle Man then shows up and Mercer dies for something, but hey, let's not focus on that. Naturally, we can't escape that easy, so I hope you like being thrown around by a tentacle, because you're going to be living that for about 45 seconds. Tentacle AV video over, the second to last chapter and the final chapter on the Ishimura now begins. I really don't want to go to the cargo bay, if I'm honest. It kind of feels like I'm about to walk into the equivalent of LAX, and we all know how bad that's going to be. We also get told something big and chunky is down there in the cargo bay waiting for us. Please do not tell me it's going to be a certain somebody's chode. We make haste for the cargo bay to find that, yes, tentacles are down here too, because what were you expecting, that the same guy just noped out and left? Yeah, that's not how this works, unfortunately. I picked up something called Peng and got an achievement for it, and then spent way too long figuring out how to solve this puzzle. I eventually did figure it out. It was the incredibly obvious button in the corner of the room. Exciting, I know. After the computer says that the cranes are not safe to operate, Isaac decides screw the system and just puts several gallons of Gorilla Glue on them to make them hold the weight. Also, new tentacles just dropped. After literally blowing several necromorphs, no, not the way you're thinking, we proceed to move the marker to the right place, to a new box. Yep. Hey look, we're back at where we started. at a destroyed hangar. Kinda looks like my relationship status. Broken and empty. Our new shuttle is here, and it's time for the final steps to load the marker on board. Boy, do I love zero gravity. I definitely did not feel like I was gonna start floating out of my chair several times during my playthrough, which I guess goes to show that this game is pretty immersive, considering that it makes me want to defy physics. I can also tell that a boss is probably coming up because the game is handing out more credits and ammo to how Nintendo hands out DMCA strikes. Now, either that's a good thing in the sense that this game's being generous, or it's a bad thing, and much like Elden Ring, I'm probably about to get curb stomped in about 15 minutes. After a bit of troubleshooting, the marker is loaded onto our shuttle, and then a plot twist happens, so get ready for this. Daniel shoots Kine and leaves with our shuttle and the marker. And then we get a pretty massive lore drop proving that Daniels works for EarthGov and was sent here to clean a mess they had made on Aegis 7. The marker is actually handmade, and the real alien one was actually dug up from Earth.
You serious?
Unitology was born from all of this, and once they made a red version of the marker, they planted it on the surface of Aegis 7, and well, you can clearly see what the results were. EarthGov then buried the evidence, and now the Ishimura mining team reawoke what was left behind. So therefore, Daniels leaves us behind and basically says, I told you so. So that's it then. We're stuck here. Alone. So well, that's the video, guys. Thanks for watching. Just kidding. Our wife Nicole calls and then tells us to come to the flight control room so that we can maybe call the ship back to the Ishimura. And you know, that's kind of sus that humankind has advanced enough to the point that if someone were to rob a ship like the Ishimura, all they would have to do is to stop them is to just tell the ship to come back. And there's nothing they could do about it. That's pretty messed up. Daniels bails out and takes an escape pod out of the ship. Who knows where she's gonna end up? Probably in space trying to get by with whatever she can find in her pod. Okay. But at last, we're getting on the shuttle, with the intent to finally leave the Ishimura behind. It's here that the game tells you, hey, if you leave now, you're not coming back, period. So if you have side quests, finish them before you leave. Don't do what I do and not finish all of them like a loser. We then experience what I'm going to assume is what happens when you're high on LSD, as we slowly make our descent onto Aegis 7. But regardless, we're here and ready to finish this off, so that I don't have to wake up with a necromorph in my bed tomorrow morning. Oh, title drop! Also, why does Aegis 7 remind me of Mars? Did they just figure that Mars was their best inspiration, given that Mars comes up a lot in conversations like this? You should have went with something other than orange as your aesthetic, Devs. Just saying. Immediately upon returning the next day, my chode gets wrecked. Rude intro, game. For the most part, this entire last segment of the game boils down to moving the marker throughout different points to ultimately place it on an extremely specific pedestal at the end of the game. I'm pretty sure that you don't want to see the entire process of this, so here's a montage of me, quite literally, moving a box approximately 3 miles, which took about 25 minutes to do, by the way.
Ah! This thing is front! Oh, fuck! Oh, fuck! Die, bitch! Oh, no. It's time to stop! No! Thank God that's over!
Hello there.
Kobe! Surprise, motherfucker!
I hope you guys are ready for yet another lore drop section, because, I'm not ready. It turns out that, and get ready for this, Daniels is still alive, and Nicole isn't actually alive at all, and she's actually dead. You remember that very first scene at the beginning of the game when Isaac was staring at his wife through what looked to be like a holographic screen? Well, great news, it's coming full circle now at the end of the game. This is some top tier storytelling right here, boys. Did not expect this one. It turns out that the marker screwed with Isaac's mind and made a hologram of Nicole to make us think that she was alive, but most likely she probably wasn't alive, presumably for the entire game. Elizabeth Cross, you know, that important character from earlier, gets clapped right in front of her eyes, and Daniels basically says that we suck balls, and we gotta get locked out from seeing the aftermath. Kinda rough. The final major objective of the game is given, and well, I'm just gonna stand here and have a woman win the war in space, so I gotta fix it. I then spent like 10 minutes at the bench, but finally, I arrived at the landing pad to be met with, Daniel's getting shreked by the tentacle monster before having to fight said monster. This can only go bad.
That's right! You and me! Right now!
Oh, what the fuck? Welcome to the final boss, the living embodiment of anime girls doing some strange things in the bedroom. I'm of course talking about Tentacle Jesus himself. Equipped with multiple orange balls of fury, you're gonna have to shoot them down whilst dodging, quite literally, his schlong slamming on the landing pad several times. He's also gonna shoot bombs at you. I hope you weren't ready to experience what getting whipped was like tonight, otherwise you're just gonna be ruined after watching this video. I'm not really sure why every drop this boss gives to the player during the fight is a stasis recharge, but if you wanted all 30 of your inventory slots to be filled with stasis rechargers, then go for it. There's also an ad phase, because we all gotta love a good ad phase. Why would I not want to forget the many necromorphs that I killed in my adventures across the dead space? Oh, see what I did there? Watch out for the green fluids he spills. It'll legit make your needle torture look like a joke. Altogether, I just wish that this fight presented a little more to put on the table. Just something a bit more thrilling, that's all. It doesn't really feel like a final boss. It would not surprise me if this was in the same place as the Leviathan was back in food storage. But then again, this game doesn't really feel like it's a boss-heavy game, so I guess for what bosses it's providing, this is definitely better than the Leviathan. Regardless, now that we have lost everything that we had and came to find on the USG Ishimura, it's now time to finish this beast off once and for all, and hopefully head back to Earth to potentially find a new lady friend and get laid. Again.
So thank God that's over. I mean, it's over, right? There's not more, right? I mean...
Oh crap, it's my wife! Upon finishing the game, you get some sweet rewards for finishing everything, and you unlock that as well as New Game Plus. So if you wanted to relive this game again with a fresh coat of paint, including the ability to carry over all of your gear and upgrades from the base game into New Game Plus, and some free money to start you off, then this is the game for you. You can actually get a secret ending by playing through New Game Plus, and collecting all 12 master fragments scattered around the Ishimura. Just make sure that you turn them into their designated locations. There's also some new versions of the necromorphs called the Phantom Necromorphs. That's only a little concerning. You can also complete the game on hard mode, and if you do so, you'll unlock the hardest difficulty, Impossible mode, which legit turns the game into a one-life KO roguelike. Don't worry though, because if for whatever reason you die in Impossible mode, regardless of how far you are into the campaign, you will restart back at Chapter 1 if you die. That is pretty dope, and I may consider trying it out myself in the future. But if you manage to complete Impossible mode, you will get that foam finger hand cannon that I mentioned earlier in the video, as well as an awesome suit. So, what are my final thoughts on Dead Space? From a story perspective, I think this game's story is pretty good. It's not super complicated, in the sense that yes, it's gonna give you a bit of a head scratch, but it's not akin to something like the Fate series. The pacing of events in the story, and the campaign we'll call it, feels pretty good. It doesn't feel like the game's rushing to get its narrative across, nor does it feel like the story is undercooked and not providing enough of its narrative to keep the player involved. The world is, while admittedly closed off a lot, since we're in a spaceship for like 90% of the game, it still feels vibrant and full of life, both alive and dead. There's room for exploration throughout the dangerous corridors that you'll come across, as well as new challenges that will arise when doing so. The game rewards you with exploration by giving you credits and nodes to upgrade your suits and weapons to become even stronger, which is something that, quite frankly, lots of current games are failing to do. The gameplay is pretty good and simple too. Every weapon feels like it has its own unique characteristics and feel, all of which can be used for different combat situations, and all of them require some challenge to master. And while stasis and kinesis are somewhat underused, kinesis arguably being the most underused in my opinion, their uses in-game are still pretty good, and allow the player to quite literally use all of their tool sets provided to solve anything that gets in their way. My only major complaint with this game is its boss count. It feels like this game focused on every other aspect of its gameplay, its story, and its world, and forgot about the bosses. In total, I only think there's like 3 bosses in this game, that being the Hunter, the Leviathan, and the Hive Mind. I would have loved to see a larger variety of necromorph-themed bosses, ones that used variations of Isaac's suits, abilities, or guns, or completely new unique mobs to bring on the table. It's a bit sad, but let's be honest, the game makes up for it with everything else that it puts on the table. Overall, for someone who has never played a Dead Space game, this is a great game, filled with lots of action, fun gameplay elements, and a story that genuinely had me intrigued, especially after the multiple plot twists towards the later half of the game. It's a game that I highly recommend for anyone who is looking for a game that isn't super long, only clocking in at around 12 to 20 hours for somewhere near 100% clear of the game. It's a game that I think anyone can have a blast playing, and it's now on Game Pass with EA Play if you're interested. Regardless, I'm gonna head out before I get more needle torture punctured into me again. My name is PandaPowerSauce, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.